Welcome, my friends. Let us think differently than the usual way. Well, I read the Bible and I think many things in a different way. Why? Because I believe it's the perspective of our perspective is always from human side. We always like to look into things in a human way. We say Jacob was a deceiver, but the Lord decided to bless him. The Lord came after him. The Lord wrestled with him and blessed him. Why he should bless a deceiver? Well, we have many other answers to it. But he did not change his character. Even after that, he lied to Esau and said, Esau, we will talk about that on another day. But today I would like to talk from a different subject. Jacob only. We will be looking into these kind of different topics. Once in a while, maybe once or twice a week. Well, I want to talk what I'm talking to you today. We know Jacob. Jacob had a good relationship with the Lord, a very good relationship with the Lord. When he was running away from his father Isaac and brother Esau, the Lord appeared to him in the night. He called the place Bethel, the house of God, and he went to Laban, his father-in-law. He got married to Rachel and to Leah. And then on the way back, he came, and then we know he had Joseph. He loved Joseph the most. He loved Joseph the most. But then God had given a vision, to a dream, two dreams to Joseph. In the two dreams that Joseph had, Joseph knew there is something greater. But he never had a clue of what God was planning for him. Not him, nor his father, nor his brothers. I believe brothers had more of a clue than his father and himself. Well, now, the Lord take him out from the hands of Jacob, and he is sold to Egypt. And now he lives in Egypt as a slave in Potiphar's house. But the question today I want to ask you is this. Why did God concealed, or why did God did not speak to Jacob even a single word about the good life or the slavery or the life of Joseph in Egypt? When the brothers bought the expensive garment of Joseph to Jacob, Jacob saw that and said, "Oh, it's my son Joseph's. It's my son Joseph's." And he took the sand and put it on his head and said, "Now I will go to the grave with this cry." And he was so sad, brokenhearted. See, when God saw Jacob going through this trouble, God saw the fear, God saw the pain, God saw the anguish, God saw the agony, God saw the cry, God saw the tears, God saw the peacelessness, the joylessness, the happilessness, everything. Jacob lost everything. Everything Jacob dreamed about, everything Jacob fancied about, everything Jacob cared about was Joseph. Everything was Joseph. One day, boom, Joseph's gone. And now, the Lord is keeping quiet about Joseph to Jacob. Completely quiet. God was able to say at least a word, "Don't worry, I am in control." The Lord was able to say to Jacob, "Jacob, your son is safe." But God didn't say. How many years he waited to see Joseph? He thought Joseph is gone. He thought Joseph is dead. He went through such a mental agony than we can even think or imagine. That was Jacob's condition. Every day he cried. Every day he cried. That was he was a lost man. He had everything, but he was a lost man because he lost Joseph. Then why did not God let Jacob know that Joseph was alive? The answer is, see, if Jacob know that Joseph is alive in Egypt, Jacob will sell his wife's children, grandchildren, all his possession. Jacob will sell himself and he will go to Egypt and he will buy Joseph back. And he will come home as a man of victory saying, hey, I got my Joseph back. But what will happen? What will happen is God's plan for Joseph, God's plan for his children through Joseph will be gone completely if God speak to Jacob that Joseph is alive. So God has to allow Jacob to go through that tremendous pain that cannot bear with any man. That pain Jacob had to go through that. God was sad about it. God was broken-hearted about it, but God couldn't do anything. Why? The reason is because God wanted his plan to be executed at any cost. So you need to understand, sometimes when we go through tough times in life, when we ask for answers and there is no answers from God, when we ask God, why? But he is keeping quiet and silent. Always remember something, my friends. It's because the Lord doesn't want to reveal his plan and purpose to you. Because if he reveals it now, you may work against his plan and purpose. What you think right, what you think good, what you think profitable, what you think is the best in human eyes will not be the best in the eyes of God. So what God will do, God will keep quiet. God will keep silent. God will not utter a word. No prophet or prophetess, no man or woman of God can understand why. Why? It is because God has a greater purpose, a greater plan for you and for me. If Jacob knew Joseph was there, either Jacob also will say, I also will come and stay as a slave in Egypt in Potiphar's house. All the plans will be gone. Or Jacob will bring Joseph back home, selling everything. All God's plan will be gone, void, taken out. The Lord said, no, I will not allow anyone to touch my plan. Even though Jacob had gone through that trouble, there was a whisper from God. Jacob couldn't hear it because God did not allow Jacob to hear. And that was, Jacob, after almost 22, 23 years, you are going to see your son Joseph. How? Now, Joseph was in the prison. Joseph was in Potiphar's house totally 13 years. Then there was 7 years of plenty. So that was 20 years. Then started the next 7 years of scarcity and poverty and drought. Maybe on the second or third year, his brothers came looking for the wheat and for the grain. So at least 21, 22 years at least it took for Jacob to see Joseph again. That many years, God withheld every kind of communication from Jacob. Jacob might have asked, hitting and scratching and screaming, Lord, where is my son? Tell me, speak to me. God kept quiet. Is God cruel? No. Because God kept quiet and God allowed Jacob to be taken away, there was a greater glorious future for Jacob and for his sons, and for Joseph and his family, and for Israelites in Egypt. And then, as the Lord said to Abraham, the Lord delivered Israelites with great blessings out of the land of Egypt. Why? It's because God has a greater plan. So, you cannot understand what God is doing now. You can't be able to see that. Whatever people say, try to give you peace and happiness, you will still ask the question, God, why? But let me assure you, there is a greater purpose for God in your life. Be ready for it. At the right time, the Lord will pick you up And then you will remember the visions and dreams God has given you. Always remember, before I stop, let me tell you this. The Lord will never tell you exactly what your end will be. He will only give a glimpses. Okay, only give a glimpses. He will show few things, but you won't be able to understand it. And He will never reveal the way He is taking you there. But submit to God. Surrender to God. Tell the Lord, Lord, here I am. As Samuel said, I'm sure the Lord will lead you and your future will be bright. My future is bright. Your future is bright. Our future is blessed and bright in Jesus' name. Have a good day. The Lord bless you, and shalom.